specific number you mentioned about credit card usage and so on, that's not a big factor with us. We think credit cards are both here to stay and likely to grow to some extent, although at some point you start reaching limits, at least in terms of outstandings, that make any sense. But the credit card field is a very big field. The question is who's got the edge in it, because everybody is going to want to be in it, and they already are, and there are a lot of different ways you can play the game if you're in the credit card business, and you better have some way of playing one part of the game, preferably a large part, but you better have some way of playing one part of the game better than others, or natural capitalistic forces are going to grind you down. I mean, it's a business that people are willing to change their minds about what they do in. I mean, if you offer somebody a credit card that gives them some advantages that don't exist on their earlier card, people are quite willing to shift cards. So you need some kind of an edge in some particular segment of the market. So the growth aspects overall of the market were not a big factor with us. It's really a question of figuring out who's going to win what game and who's going to lose what game. And what was the second question again on that?
It's a very good company, and ISCAR's a much better company. The advantage it has is brains and incredible passion for the business. It's interesting to reflect on ISCAR, because if you go back to what would it be, 1951 or thereabouts, when Seth Wertheimer, who had come from Germany, was in Israel, started ISCAR. Just think of the prospect that was facing him. Here was a company like Sandvik, or in this country Kennametal, or different countries, well-entrenched companies, well-entrenched, well-financed. And here's this fellow in Israel, 25 years old, and the raw material for these cutting tools comes from China. It isn't that the raw material is in Israel. So everybody buys their tungsten from China, and they sell to customers that are using large machine tools throughout the world, but they're selling into heavy industry to a significant extent. So they're selling to people like Boeing or General Motors or big industrial companies in Germany, and there's no great locational advantage in terms of being in Israel doing this. But here's this 25-year-old fellow getting the tungsten from thousands of miles away, selling it to customers thousands of miles away, competing against people like Sandvik, and this remarkable business, ISCAR, comes from that. And there's no other answer you can give to your question when you see that result than to say that you have had some incredibly talented people who never stopped working, never stopped trying to improve the product, never stopped trying to make customers happy. And that continues to this day. And Sandvik is a very good company. I can tell you that based not only on the figures but on every other aspect of business observation that I possess, that ISCAR is one of the great companies of the world, and we feel very fortunate to own it and to be associated with their management. Charlie?
So what was your blackjack system? I'm skeptical.
So the blackjack system, I don't want to, it would destroy the casino. I don't want to destroy the casino. I mean, they would have to either change the game or something. But basically, I'll give you some pointers of kind of what's going on here. There's a publication called BJ21, bj21.com. Okay, if you go to bj21.com and you give them $100, they're going to give you a PDF, and I think for $100 you get like a 1-year subscription. They kind of update it every month. It gives you the odds of every blackjack table in North America. Okay, so for example, if I go to the Wynn Las Vegas, right? The Wynn Las Vegas has a bunch of different blackjack games: single deck, double deck, 6 decks, whatever else. Every single one of those, it gives you the odds. if you play perfect blackjack. Now, normally, and these odds vary depending on how competitive. So if I'm going to some, riverboat in Indiana, I'm not going to get the same odds as Vegas. Vegas Strip is going to be more efficient because it's more competitive. So usually the house will end up with something like 0.3, 0.4%, all the way to like 2% edge over the bettor, which means every bet you're making, if you make a $100 bet, every bet you're making, you're losing 50 cents or whatever and such. So there's a casino in Vegas called the El Cortez. And the El Cortez is a small casino. It was actually started by Bugsy Siegel, who made the Flamingo before World War II. And the El Cortez it's in downtown, not on the Strip, but it's a little away from the action of downtown. So in order to kind of induce people to come, they kind of improve the odds. Okay, still in their favor, but the single deck game at the El Cortez has the thinnest house edge of any blackjack table on the planet. The house edge is 0.18%. Okay, so if you look at that BJ21, if you look at all of they have the edges of every table. This one is the lowest, right? So this is a very thin, and I have a system where basically what threw them off, which took them a long time to figure out, is that they play single deck blackjack, right? But they only deal half the deck.
Right, then they shuffle.
So the reason they deal half the deck is so they can just make it difficult for the counters. Because you may be counting cards, the deck becomes very favorable, but then they shuffle.
Right.
Right. So high cards at the back, but they never get dealt.
Right.
So the counters get screwed. Right. I had a system where it basically relied on the fact that blackjack occasionally has streaks. It has streaks where you may win 6 or 7 or 8 hands in a row, or you may lose 6, 7, or 8 hands in a row. And what I did in the betting was that usually when I was losing, it was always the minimum bet. And when I was winning, the bets were increasing. So with the variance of that, what happened is I was able to overcome
the 0.18.
0.18.
Right.
Right. So I don't want to give more than that.
Sure.
But that gives it enough,
Okay. As somebody
enough to get going.
I've tried to.
When the cameras turn
You'll tell
off,
me.
I'll explain it to you.
Okay, great.
So when you go to next time, when you go to the Cortez, but now what happens is, so what happened with them, what really confused them, which they had never dealt with before, is normally what the counters do is on a brand new shoe, it's a low bet.
Minimum bet. Yeah.
In my case, there was a brand new shoe, there's a high bet. So they said, we just shuffled.
Right.
The whole deck is there. There's no odds edge he has on that deck because the entire deck is there.
Right.
He has a high bet.
Did they ever figure it out, or did
They figured it out.
Okay.
It took them. So what they said is, they said, this is what they figured out. This is what they came. So what happened is, I'm playing blackjack. The general manager, who's very friendly to me, comes and sits down next to me and tells the dealer, stop dealing. Okay. So she's in the middle of a hand. She just continued dealing. He screams at her, stop dealing now. She'd never heard that before. Okay, like literally middle of the night. She said, shuffle.
Right.
We're done. We're not dealing anymore. Then he tells me that, Mr. Pabrai, I like you. Okay. I read your book. I watch your videos. And you have a system that we cannot beat.
Right.
So I said, I told him, I said, you know, I'm not counting cards. He said, that's what threw us off. He said, we know you're not counting cards and we know you'll beat us. And so you can come to this casino anytime you want, but you cannot sit down at a blackjack table. Then I'm thinking, why would I come here? Okay, why would I come to the El Cortez if I'm not going to play blackjack?
Progressive is a very, very well-run business. GEICO is a very well-run business, and I think they will, for a long time, be the two companies that the rest of the auto insurance industry has trouble not losing share to. But there's, I think I've always thought for a long, long time, Progressive has been very well run. They have an appetite for growth. Sometimes they copy us a little. Sometimes we copy them a little. And I think that'll be true 5 years from now and 10 years from now. And we sell substantial amounts of homeowners insurance. We have an agency arrangement with that. We were in the business of writing it ourselves until Hurricane Andrew, when a decision was made. We didn't control it then, but a decision was made that the homeowners essentially, you could lose as much in 1 year as you made in the previous 25 years, and the float isn't as large. So we became a company that placed our customers' desire for homeowners with several other large and solid organizations. The big thing is auto insurance. And we grew in the first quarter about 340,000 policies net, which will look quite good compared to anybody but Progressive. And that was quite a bit more than last year, but not as good as 2 years ago. And the combined ratio, the profit margin was in the 9-point area. So I feel extremely good about GEICO. I mean, what has been built there by Tony and his people is perfect, but I would feel fine. We don't own any Progressive, but I think that Progressive is an excellent company, and we will watch what they do, and they will watch what we do, and we will see 5 years from now or 10 years from now which one of us. Everybody's a competitor, and including now Apple, that has just instituted a card, I guess, in conjunction with Goldman Sachs. Everybody, there will always be, in my view, many competitors in the business. Banks can't afford to leave the field. It's a growing field. They build up receivables on it. But I wouldn't think of the credit card business as a one model business any more than I would think of the car business as essentially being one model. I mean, Ferrari is going to make a lot of money, but they're going to have just a portion of the market. Well, Amex is growing around the world with individuals, is growing around the world with small businesses. You just saw the contract they made with Delta, which is probably the ideal partner that runs, for 8 or 9, whatever it may be, 9 or 10 years actually. It's, the billings go up per capita, they go up, the coverage spreads, and they're going to have loads of competition, and they always will. But they had, that's something. J.P. Morgan, took on the Platinum card and was a competitor, and the Platinum card had highest renewal rates that they've had, and they increased the price, I think, from $450 to $550 during a competitive battle. And retention improved, and new business improved, and 68% or so of the new business was millennials. I mean, it is not an identical product with anything else. And as a premium card, it has a clientele which is large. It may be X percent of the market, it may be 3/4 of X%, or whatever it may be. It isn't for the person that likes to have 5 cards and look every day at which one provides the most rewards that day, or in what gas stations or something of the sort. But it's got a very large constituency that has a renewal rate, a usage rate that's the envy of everybody else in the industry. So I like our American Express position very well. Charlie? Charlie, anything on American Express?
No, I think we own the world as long as the technology stays the same.
It's an interesting thing.
I have no opinion about technology.
This year, the technology is not the whole thing. I mean, fortunately, I mean, if you look at credit card usage, there are a lot of different things motivating different people to use various types of payment systems. And there's a lot of them that are growing. There's some of them that are marginal. And American Express is an extraordinary operation. And I think this year, our share of the earnings, well, by next year, our share of the earnings of American Express will be equal to the cost of our position. We'll be earning 100% on what that position cost us, and I think it will grow. And I think the number of shares will go down, and our interest will go up without us laying out a dime. So it's a
As you say, we own the world if it doesn't change.
well, even if it changes something, the world has changed a lot. American Express was formed in 1850.
No, I'm talking about WeChat.
You can talk about all kinds of competitors.